everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy. I hope you're doing really well wherever or whenever in the world that you are. Today I'm going to be talking about 2023 releases. Now, these aren't all the books that come out in 2023. These are just the handful of books that I am really excited come out in 2023. There are going to be some really popular big title names that I've not included on this list, so feel free to leave those books down in the comment section below for other people to see. Something else to note is that I'm basing these release dates from what I saw on Goodreads. So, take it with a grain of salt. I do feel like as the year goes on, sometimes these release dates change, and it is what it is. Let's start in January. The first book that comes out in January I'm excited for is Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. First of all, I love Talia Hibbert and I will read anything that she releases, but I think this is a YA contemporary romance where I think they're childhood friends, then they kind of become rivals, I think, as they grow older into high school, and then circumstances come up where they have to work together, and then, maybe they become something more. I've heard it's gonna be sweet and quirky, and that sounds great. That book comes out on January 3rd. On January 10th, Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo comes out, and this is the second book. I don't know what the series name is, but the first book is Ninth House. I'm excited for this. I do think it's been quite some time since I read Ninth House, so I am gonna have to go back and reread that. So I probably won't get to this quite as early as January, but I'm still very excited that this is coming out this year. All I really remember about Ninth House is that it very much embodies that dark academia atmosphere, if that's your jam. Coming out on January 24th is the fifth book to An Heir Comes to Rise series by C.C. Peñaranda. It's called A Sword from the Embers. I mentioned this series in my November wrap up. Basically, you follow this young girl, Faith, who has quite the skill for fighting and sword play, and you follow her as she discovers that she's not really quite as human as she thought, and she gets wrapped up in all these political scheming and, big magical drama. And on January 31st comes out another YA contemporary romance. It's called Reggie and Delilah's Year of Falling by Elsie Bryant, I believe. And I get the sense that this is a book about these two teenagers, young kids, well, maybe not young kids, teenagers, and they meet on New Year's Eve and then unexpectedly continue to meet on several other big holiday related events. And, they're trying to figure out, is this a coincidence? Is it fate? It just sounds, again, really sweet and wholesome, and the cover is cute. I can't wait to see how they fall in love. And this is my first time reading anything from this author, so I'm excited for that. Into February. Early in February, on February 2nd, the fifth volume of Heartstopper by Alice Oseman comes out. And this is a very popular, beautiful queer romance series. It has a Netflix adaptation to boot. And you're really just following Nick and Charlie as they navigate high school drama, relationships, figuring out who they are, who they want to be with. There's a lot of mental health representation, which I really appreciate. It is just a wonderful graphic novel series. If you haven't read it, you should definitely do so. Next, on February 7th, comes a new Tessa Bailey book called Secretly Yours. And I've gone back and forth about, am I excited for this book? On one hand, there have been some real home runs with Tessa Bailey. I love the Ballinger sisters' little duology, companion novels, whatever they're called. But everything else that I've read from Tessa Bailey is kind of a miss for me. So I'm going into this book tentatively optimistic. But the little blurb or the pitch on Goodreads does have me curious. The little Goodreads blurb, it says, a steamy new rom-com about a starchy professor and the bubbly neighbor he clashes with at every turn. It does sound cute. Also coming out on February 7th is Jasper Vale by Devney Perry. This is the fourth installment in the Eden series, and you're following Eloise, who's my favorite of the siblings, so she's my favorite character. I'm really excited to get to her story. Small town setting, fake dating trope, all the things I love. So I'm really anticipating I'm gonna love this one. Now into March. On March 1st, comes a little bind up of novellas by Denise Williams. It's called Love and Other Flight Delays. I've loved the other two books that I read by Denise Williams, and so I think this is just putting together the novellas that she's written that all take place at an airport. I can't wait. I think they're going to be just the right amount of spice. I really think her writing is beautiful. I love the way she writes chemistry. I'm really, really excited. On March 7th comes the next installment in the Veronica Speedwell mystery series. I love this series with my whole heart, with my entire soul. I love it so much. Veronica and Stoker are quite possibly my favorite fictional duo of all time. That's bold, but I think it's true. This 8th installment is called A Sinister Revenge, and I cannot wait for it. This is probably one of my most highly anticipated releases for 2023. I might even reread this series because I love it so much. It is so funny and witty. Their books are incredibly bingeable. I just love them. On March 14th comes a new book by Jessie Q. Sutanto, and it's called Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. Is that what it's called? Let me double check. Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. Oh, I was right. I read Dial A for Aunties this past year and had such a fun time with it. So I'm really excited to get to read something new from this author. The pitch again for this book is silly and ridiculous and has me interested. It says, a lonely shopkeeper takes it upon herself to solve a murder in the most peculiar way. I just feel like her books have really quirky characters who are really charming and endearing, and yeah, I can't wait to read this. On March 23rd, a new book comes out by S.A. Chakraborty. It's called The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. Now, I tried to read the City of Brass series a couple years ago, and it just didn't work for me. I think I ended up DNFing the second book, and I just decided not to continue on. But I did like the author's writing, so I'm certainly open to giving this writer another go. And this fantasy series, or the first book in this series, I get the sense that there's gonna be pirates, and we're on the seas, and sorcerers, and magic, and all of that sounds really intriguing. It sounds right up my alley, so I'm definitely gonna pick this one up. And finally in March, on March 28th, comes a new poetry collection from Clint Smith, who I just adore. It's called Above Ground. I get the sense that this is talking about all the complexities of being a parent. Now, I am not a parent myself, but I just know he writes with such connecting emotion and imagery. I just know that even though I might not directly be able to relate to some of the stories, I feel like the sentiments and the human emotion at the bottom of all that, I'm gonna really feel. And I'm definitely gonna, if and when it comes out, I wanna listen to the audiobook for this because he does spoken word. And so I'd love to hear his poems, his poetry through his own voice. So I'm really, really excited for this release in March, even though I don't tend to read a lot of poetry. I'm here for it. I love Clint Smith. Alrighty, next up is April. On April 11 comes out another book by Abby Jimenez called Yours Truly. And I think this is a companion novel to Part of Your World. I read that and I fell head over heels in love with it. It is, spoiler alert, one of my favorite books of the year. And the other books from Abby Jimenez that I've read, I've not loved, I've liked, but I'm really hoping that this is gonna be another home run for me. I believe in this book, we're following one of the friends from Part of Your World. All I really know is that there is quite the cinnamon roll of a hero. I think there's some anxiety and depression rep. Yeah, and hopefully it's a beautiful love story. I can't wait. Also coming out on April 11th is the third and final installment in the Black Girls Must Die Exhausted series by Jane Allen. This book is called Black Girls Must Have It All. I buddy read this little series with my friend Amber from work, and I don't want to spoil anything about these books, but basically you follow Tabitha, this young Black woman, as she's navigating life, trying to balance it all. Career, friendships, romance, relationships, and so much more. It is kind of a slice of life story, but some of the characters you meet just really touched my heart, and I've become very invested in her life, and I want to see how her story kind of comes to a close. It is just a beautifully written novel, or all of the past ones have been, and I can't wait to read this third one. Finally, in April, on April 25th, another one of my most highly anticipated books comes out, and that is Happy Place by Emily Henry. Now, at this point, Emily Henry is pretty much an auto-buy author for me. I have loved every single book of hers that I've read. I think her banter that she writes is so compelling, and it's so funny and smart, and like I said, I love everything that she writes. And do I have to say anything else? I don't know too much about the premise for this one, but I do know there's a bit of a fake dating situation. I think this couple is like pretending they broke up, and they're pretending to still be together while their friends and family are away for like a week-long vacation. But I can't wait. I feel like it's gonna be great banter, forced proximity, maybe some mutual pining. It's gonna be great. I can't wait. Hopefully it's gonna be great. For May, I don't have listed any 2023 releases that I'm particularly excited for. But again, if you know of any coming out, then feel free to drop those comments down below. Into June, on June 8th, the next book in the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy comes out. It's called Gold. I feel like this is a pretty popular fantasy romance series, and I don't want to spoil anything. So what I'll say is that you follow Auryn. I kind of forget her name. What is her name? Auryn, as she goes on many, many adventures. This is a bit of a King Midas retelling. I will say in this series, there is a lot of explicit on-page content, whether it's sexual in nature, violent in nature. So I would check the list of all the content warnings and trigger warnings, because I really don't think this series is for everybody. I think you kind of either love it or it is really, really not your cup of tea. But I loved it. And so my sister also read it. So we're probably going to buddy read. Well, we still have to read the fourth book, Glow. But we're kind of waiting for the audiobooks to be released. So again, this is what I'm really excited for, but I might not rush into reading because I want to listen to the audiobooks because I've really enjoyed them. And yeah, they don't seem to come out the same day the physical books are released. So we'll see. That's all I got in June. Moving into July, on July 11th, I'm very excited. There's a new Catherine Center book coming out. This is called Hello Stranger. I know she typically or historically has written a lot of women's fiction, which is totally fine. I came across Catherine Center when I read The Bodyguard this past year, and I fell in love with her writing. I fell in love with that story, and so I'm eager to read more from her. I think this book seems to be it's a contemporary romance, but it seems like there's a bit of a love triangle situation, which can be really hit or miss for me. So I'm very curious. I am really intrigued by this plot. I'm just gonna check my notes, but it seems to be about this artist who kind of unexpectedly loses her ability to recognize faces. I think it's called face blindness. There might be a different medical term as well. And I think like for reasons, she meets this like very sexy veterinarian, and I think has like a very aggravating neighbor in her life. And so I don't know what this is gonna be like, but I'm curious, and I definitely want to get to it next year. I don't have any books listed for August. And then moving into September, there is one book that I'm excited for. It comes out on September 5th, which is my birthday. And it is A Queen of Thieves and Chaos by K.A. Tucker. I still have to read the second book in this little series. I'm forgetting what it's called. Maybe the Fate and Flames series? That sounds right. I think that's what it is. I don't remember all that much about the plot, but I did really like the first book. I think I gave it 4 stars maybe. So again, not one I'm like rushing to read the second it comes out, but it does release, this third book does release in 2023. And I'm excited for it. I don't have any books listed for October, November, or December, but there are 2 books that I've seen that are coming out in 2023, but they don't have a specific release date connected to them. The first book is The Dryad Storm by Laurie Forrest. This is the 5th and final installment in the Black Witch Chronicles. I don't know when this is coming out. I feel like I've gushed about this series a lot recently. I love it so much. If you have never heard of it, go ahead, check on my October, November wrap-up videos. I talk a little bit more about the premise and the plot and the characters, but I adore it so much and I can't wait to see how the series comes to a conclusion. And the other book that again comes out in 2023, but there's a big old question mark about which month and date, is A Touch of Chaos by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the 4th book in the Hades and Persephone's retelling series that she has out. And if I remember correctly, the 3rd book ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. So I'm excited. I'm excited to come back to this and see what happens next. All right. Those are all the books coming out in 2023 that I am so excited for. I definitely think my 2 most highly anticipated books are the Deanna Raybourn book from the Veronica Speedwell mystery, A Sinister Revenge. I cannot wait to read that. And of course, I'm very excited for the new Emily Henry books. In the comments down below, please let me know any additional books that are coming out in 2023, some that maybe I overlooked or I missed, or if you just want to share the love, share the knowledge, go ahead and leave those books down below. If you made it to the end, leave the little calendar emoji because we are all marking our calendars for these new releases to come out. So thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. If you are new and you like bookish content, if you like reading journal content, go ahead, click like and subscribe. But if you're just passing through, totally fine as well. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or morning or evening, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.